All right, so we're diving into securities broker interviews today.
Oh, yeah. Talk about high stakes.
Definitely high stakes.
Yeah.
This is a field where you really need a mix of financial smarts, people skills,
Yeah.
and, the ability to kind of stay cool under pressure.
Right. You got to think on your feet for sure.
Exactly.
Ah,
So that's what we're going to unpack today, some common interview questions and how to craft some really compelling answers.
and we'll also look at how RoleCatcher's AI can be really useful for, landing your dream job.
I like that you called it a secret weapon earlier.
It kind of
It
is.
can be. All right, so before we get into the actual interview hot seat, let's step back for a second and make sure we're all clear on what a securities broker actually does.
Yeah, good point. So at the most basic level, a securities broker is the connection between investors and, all the investment opportunities out there.
Right, and it's a lot more than just buying and selling.
Absolutely. It's about guiding clients through all the ups and downs of the market and giving them advice that matches their goals and, how much risk they're comfortable with.
So you need a good head for numbers, and you need to be able to build those relationships with clients.
Exactly. You need both. You need to understand market trends, all the regulations and investment strategies.
Yeah.
But just as important is being able to communicate all that complex stuff in a way that makes sense.
So basically, building trust, being transparent.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Right.
So let's talk about the RoleCatcher Career Guide for a minute. What does it say about the pros and cons of being a securities broker?
Well, it definitely highlights the good stuff, like, high earning potential,
Right.
chance to move up in your career. And, it's a pretty exciting environment to work in,
Fast-paced.
super fast paced. But it's also honest about the downsides,
Yeah.
the long hours, the pressure, and having to constantly stay updated on everything that's changing.
So it sounds like a career that you really have to be dedicated to.
Yeah.
But if you thrive in that kind of fast-paced environment where you're always learning,
The rewards can be huge.
they can be huge. All right, so let's say you've got that interview for a securities broker position. What are some of the questions they're going to throw at you? And how do you prepare?
Okay, well, RoleCatcher has some great interview guides that give you a ton of common questions for this kind of role. Let's start with a classic. What inspired you to pursue a career in securities brokerage?
I feel like a lot of people kind of freeze up with that one because it seems so general.
Yeah, and they end up giving a really generic answer.
Right, like, oh, I'm interested in finance.
Exactly, but you got to go deeper than that. You got to show them you're genuinely interested in this specific path.
So what do you suggest?
Well, think about what really drew you to this field. Was it a book you read, a mentor you had, or maybe you just find the stock market fascinating?
You got hooked on watching the ticker.
Yeah, whatever it is, make it personal. Connect it back to your skills and experience.
Show them your passion.
Show your passion and be ready for them to ask you more about it. Like what aspects of the financial markets excite you the most?
So they might dig a little deeper.
Yeah, exactly. So have an area ready to talk about, whether it's emerging markets, new trading technology, or even sustainable investing. Show them you're enthusiastic and that you're eager to learn.
Makes sense. All right, let's get a little more technical. What about a question like, can you describe your experience with securities trading platforms?
Okay, now this is where you really showcase your experience and your technical skills. Be specific about the platforms you've used, how good you are with them, and any special projects or integrations you've worked on.
So don't just rattle off a list of platforms.
No, don't just list them. Give them an example. Like, I've actually developed custom algorithms for technical analysis on MetaTrader 4 using Python.
Oh, it's impressive.
It shows you've gone above and beyond. And be ready for them to follow up with something like, what are your thoughts on the evolving landscape of trading technology? They want to see that you're staying ahead of the curve.
So I guess it'd be smart to brush up on things like AI trading, blockchain technology, and mobile trading apps.
Definitely. Show them you're engaged with how the industry's changing.
Okay, here's another question that I think could be tricky. How do you stay up to date with market trends and changes in regulations?
All right, well, with this one, don't just give them a generic list of sources. Get specific. Tell them about the publications industry, websites, newsletters, even podcasts that you follow.
Or, if you went to a conference recently or a webinar about a specific regulation.
Yeah, exactly. The more detail you give, the better.
So it shows them you're really actively seeking out this information.
Right, and they might follow up with something like, how would you approach researching a new investment opportunity or a regulatory change?
So they're really testing you to see if you've got a process.
They want to see how your mind works. So tell them about your research process. Do you use industry databases? Do you analyze financial statements? Do you network with experts? Or do you go to industry events?
Show them you're proactive.
Exactly.
All right, so speaking of staying informed, How does RoleCatcher's AI help with all of this?
Okay, well, this is where RoleCatcher really shines. You're basically getting a personalized AI coach that looks at your answers and gives you feedback based on the specific job you want.
So it's more than just basic grammar and spelling checks.
Way more. It actually understands what it takes to be a securities broker.
That's pretty cool.
It is. It's trained on a massive amount of data specific to this field. So it can tell you if your answers are clear and concise if they're relevant, and it even helps you strengthen your answers with better examples and industry terms.
Wow. It's like having an industry expert in your pocket.
That's a great way to put it. And it's available 24/7.
Awesome. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about a question that really gets at your people skills. How do you handle difficult or demanding clients?
Oh, yes. This one is all about showing your emotional intelligence and how well you communicate. Remember, securities brokers are dealing with people's money and their dreams for the future. So staying calm, being empathetic, and finding solutions is crucial.
And I'm guessing I'm good with people is not going to cut it.
Not even close.
Yeah.
You got to give them specific examples of how you've handled tough client interactions in the past.
So tell them about a time you had to calm down a client who was panicking during a market crash.
Exactly. Or maybe you had a client who was always questioning your recommendations. How did you approach that situation? What strategies did you use to address their concerns and keep that relationship positive?
And be ready for them to ask you to tell me about a time you successfully navigated a challenging client interaction.
Oh, yeah, they love that one. So have a story ready to go. Describe the situation, what the client wanted, and how you managed to keep them happy while resolving the issue.
Basically proving you can handle pressure.
Right. You got to show them you can stay cool under pressure, which is pretty much a requirement for this job.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so I think this has been a fantastic start to our deep dive into securities broker interview prep. We've talked about what the job actually entails, some key insights from the RoleCatcher Career Guide, and tackled some of those common interview questions with some strategies for really nailing those answers.
And don't forget about RoleCatcher's AI. It can be a total game changer for tailoring your answers and getting that competitive edge.
Definitely. But we've only just scratched the surface. There's a lot more to unpack. So in part 2, we're going to keep diving deep and explore even more challenging interview questions.
And we'll dig deeper into what it really means to be a securities broker in today's world.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Welcome back. So before we jump into more of those interview questions, let's go back to something we talked about earlier.
Okay, what's that?
Staying updated. You know, the financial world is constantly changing.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely true. So how can you make sure you're not just keeping up, but actually staying ahead of the curve?
Well, the RoleCatcher Career Guide really emphasizes continuous learning.
Makes sense. You got to keep learning.
You do. It's not just about what you learn in school. It's about being immersed in how the industry is actually working.
So what are some practical things you can do besides just reading the financial news?
Think outside the box. Subscribe to those niche newsletters that focus on specific sectors or investment strategies.
Okay, I like that.
Follow those thought leaders and industry experts on social media to get those real-time insights.
Well, yeah, that's a good one.
Even join some online forums or communities where brokers are talking about what's happening and sharing their experiences.
So it's about being proactive and seeking out different perspectives.
Exactly. And remember, you never stop learning. Even if you've been a broker for years, you gotta keep adapting and learning new things to stay competitive.
So true. All right, let's get back to those interview questions. What about this one? How do you prioritize and manage your workload?
This question is all about how organized you are and how well you can juggle a lot of things at once.
I imagine brokers have a lot on their plate.
They do. They're meeting with clients, doing market research, executing trades, handling admin tasks, and they have to stay on top of market changes and new regulations.
It's a lot.
It is. So you can't just say, oh, I'm organized. You have to walk them through your process.
Show them how you actually manage your time.
Right. Do you use a specific system? Do you prioritize based on deadlines or client needs? Do you break down big projects into smaller steps?
Be specific.
Be specific and get ready for them to ask, how do you handle unexpected urgent requests while managing your existing workload?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Because things pop up all the time.
All the time. So you got to show them how flexible you are and how you adapt. Do you reprioritize tasks? Do you delegate? Do you communicate with people to adjust deadlines?
It's all about problem solving under pressure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, before we move on, I want to mention another really cool feature that RoleCatcher has.
Oh, yeah, what's that?
It's their AI-powered resume analysis.
Okay, so this is for before the interview even happens.
Right. It's about getting your resume noticed in the first place.
Yeah.
You see, a lot of companies use these things called applicant tracking systems, or ATS.
What are those?
They basically filter resumes based on keywords and certain criteria. So even if you have the right experience, your resume might get tossed out if it doesn't have the right keywords.
It's kind of scary.
It is. But that's where RoleCatcher comes in. Their AI analyzes job descriptions and tells you how to improve your resume so it matches what employers are actually looking for.
So it's making sure your resume speaks the right language.
Exactly. It helps you get past those automated systems and gets your resume in front of a real person.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, let's get back to those interview questions. Here's one that I think is really important. How do you build and maintain relationships with clients?
This one is all about showing that you can build trust and become a real advisor to your clients.
You're not just there to make a quick sale.
Right. In finance, relationships are everything. So when you answer this question, focus on active listening, clear communication, and genuinely understanding what your clients want to achieve.
And how much risk they're comfortable with.
Exactly. Give them examples of how you go above and beyond just executing trades. How do you provide support, education, personalized advice?
So it's about being a partner in their financial journey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And be ready for them to ask, how do you adapt your communication style to different client personalities?
That's a good point. Not all clients are the same.
Definitely. Some people want constant updates and detailed explanations. Others prefer a more hands-off approach.
So you have to be able to read people and tailor your communication style.
You got it. Some clients might be impressed by all the data and numbers. Others might connect better with stories or visuals of how their portfolio is doing.
All right, let's move on to another big topic. How do you approach risk management for your clients?
Okay, so this is where you show them that you understand how to balance potential rewards with the potential risks. Don't just use a bunch of jargon, though. Explain your process in a clear and simple way.
Yeah, break it down for them.
Right.
Yeah.
So instead of just throwing out terms like diversification or stop-loss orders, walk them through how you figure out a client's risk tolerance, how you build a diversified portfolio, and how you adjust your strategy when the market changes.
And I bet they'll ask you to explain all that to someone who doesn't know much about finance.
You bet. They'll probably ask something like, how would you explain a complex risk management strategy to a client with limited financial knowledge?
So you really got to be able to communicate clearly.
You do. This is where your communication skills really come in handy.
Yeah.
You got to find a way to translate those complex ideas into everyday language. Maybe use analogies or real-world examples that people can relate to.
Like comparing portfolio diversification to not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. Or explaining hedging strategies by talking about buying insurance to protect yourself from something bad happening.
That makes sense. Okay, what's next?
Okay, so next up is, how do you keep your clients informed about their portfolio performance?
This is all about transparency.
It is. You got to show that you're committed to open communication.
Yeah.
So talk about your reporting process, how often you give updates, and how you make that complex financial information easy to understand.
Do you give them monthly summaries, quarterly performance reviews, personalized dashboards?
Exactly. Whatever you do, lay it all out for them. And don't forget to mention how you tailor your communication to what the client prefers. Some people want those detailed reports with charts and graphs. Others just want a quick summary.
And they might ask you, how do you tailor your communication to address different levels of client understanding and engagement?
That's a good one because you'll have clients who are very financially savvy and others who are just starting out.
So you have to be able to meet them where they're at.
You do. You got to show that you can adapt your style based on how much they understand and how involved they want to be.
Okay, before we wrap up this part, I want to circle back to RoleCatcher and how their AI can help you get ready for these questions.
Oh, yeah. We talked about their resume analysis feature, but they also have an amazing interview practice tool.
Really?
Right.
What's that all about?
It's like having your own personal interview coach. You can actually practice answering these tough questions and get instant feedback from an AI that's specifically designed for the securities broker role.
So I could type in my answer, and it would tell me how I did.
That's right. It analyzes your answer for clarity, conciseness, and if it's relevant to the job. And it even suggests different ways to phrase things, highlights areas you could improve, and gives you industry-specific tips to make your answer stand out.
Wow, that's pretty incredible.
It is. It's like having a secret weapon that helps you build your confidence and refine your answers. And the best part is, it's all based on real data and best practices from the industry.
So you know you're getting good advice.
Exactly.
Welcome back. We've covered so much in getting ready for these securities broker interviews. But before we wrap up, I'm really curious about the future of this whole profession. What should people who want to be brokers be thinking about as they enter this field that's always changing?
You hit the nail on the head. The financial world is always in flux, and technology is driving a lot of that change. We've talked about AI and machine learning, but their impact goes way beyond just automating trades. It's changing how brokers analyze data, manage risk, and even how they talk to their clients.
And so it's not just about picking stocks anymore.
Nope, not at all. The securities broker of the future has to be like a data detective, able to pull insights from tons of information and use technology to give clients more personalized and effective advice.
Okay, data analysis is key. What specific skills should aspiring brokers focus on developing?
Well, being comfortable with programming languages like Python or R can be super valuable for analyzing financial data. You could even develop your own algorithms. And knowing how to use data visualization tools can help you communicate complex information clearly. And having even a basic understanding of AI algorithms can give you a real edge in a market that's becoming more and more driven by machine learning.
So a securities broker might need to be a bit of a tech whiz, too.
Yeah, kinda, but it's not just about the numbers. The human element is still super important.
And that's good to hear. I was starting to worry about robots taking over completely.
While technology can handle a lot of those routine tasks, building relationships, understanding clients, and giving personalized advice will always need that human touch.
So it's that combination of technical expertise and people skills that will make a successful securities broker in the future.
Exactly. Those who can bridge that gap between data and human interaction will be in high demand.
Now, before we wrap things up, I want to go back to one last question from RoleCatcher's interview guides. This one's about ethics in the financial industry. How do you approach compliance and regulatory issues in your work?
This is a big one because honesty and following the rules are absolutely essential in this field. When you answer this question, make sure to emphasize your commitment to doing things the right way, your understanding of the regulations, and how proactive you are about staying up to date.
So don't just say, I follow the rules.
Right. You need to show that you really get the regulatory landscape and you're dedicated to the highest ethical standards.
How could you do that?
Well, you can highlight any relevant training or certifications you have, like the Series 7 license, and show that you understand compliance procedures and that you're committed to continuing your professional development in this area.
And be ready for them to ask you for a specific example.
Oh, yeah. They'll probably say something like, describe a situation where you identified and addressed a potential compliance issue.
So I have a story in your back pocket.
Exactly. It could be a time you found a mistake in a client's paperwork or noticed a potential conflict of interest, or maybe you proactively asked for clarification on a new regulation. Explain how you took care of the issue and make sure you highlight that you acted with integrity and in the best interests of your clients and the company.
This has been an amazing deep dive into the world of securities brokers. We've talked about everything from what the job actually is, to the skills you need, the interview process, possible career paths, and even the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead.
It's been great exploring this dynamic field with you.
Don't forget, RoleCatcher is a fantastic resource for anyone who wants to work in this industry. They have amazing AI-powered tools to help you create a killer resume, practice your interview answers, and navigate the job market with confidence.
And as the financial world keeps changing, those who embrace technology, make learning a priority, and stay dedicated to doing the right thing will be the ones who shape the future of this exciting profession.
What a great way to wrap things up. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of securities brokers. We hope you found this episode informative and inspiring. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep.